Welcome to Factorio Space Age. My name is Nilaus and I will be your guide on this 69 nice features of 2.0. So this is all the features. They are not including any spoilers. There's nothing about the Space Age. This is purely about the things that have been improved about the base game. So since I have to go through 69 of these in one video, it's going to be rapid fire. So sit back, relax and get your mind blown with all the cool things that have been added in the game. The save you're seeing right here is the save that I have prepared. So if you are a patron supporter and you want to get a base so you can get started on launching rockets immediately, then you can download this save and it's ready for you. I have it's achievement enabled, and so no console commands, no mods, and nothing has been researched that's new. So it is completely ready for you to get started on if you don't want to build a base from start. First thing to look at is the force build. It has been approved, so we can now force build, and here if I hold shift you can see that the red ones on the water then turn green, because then I'll just place landfill underneath it. Super nice, because that means when stamping down my city block base I can just, or city blocks, I can just stamp it down and it will automatically put landfill below. Super nice. But it gets better than that if we want to, this is one of the common ones, you have some belts and you want to get something here. I hold shift and I can't put it here, but if I hold control shift then place it, it actually puts these around it. That is super nice. It, however, doesn't quite work for pipes, can I only say yet. So that's something, but it's super cool. The next thing is the liquid system. Liquid system has gotten a massive overhaul and it's so nice. So thank you for doing that. This would not be possible before. You can see the nuclear power plant is jumping into action and it's all going through a single pipe. The liquid network now has an unlimited throughput capacity. So as long as all the inputs matches all the outputs, then it's the throughput will not be there. So no more about sort of putting down pumps every X rail segment or pipe segments. That is no longer a thing. However, you can't make it completely big. You can see here pipe extent is 93 out of 320. So if it goes above 320, then you get an overextended and then you have to put in a pump. Next thing is the science. If we add a new science here, then we actually have now the option of reordering them in the queue. So that's really nice. A very small thing, but hey, it's a nice little thing. Another thing under the general terms is when you do save games, here I have the save game prepared for you. There are actually folders that you can now put. So you pre-launch and space age, and then I go here, and then we have all my saves, and then I can go into another subfolder. Really nice. And an addendum to us force building here, we can actually also remove it. That's pretty cool. And it actually works even better by then I can undo and undo again, and then I can redo with Control Y and Control I. So you have now not unlimited, but there's a undo buffer and then a redo buffer. So when you are walking around and you are accidentally undoing something, then you can actually redo it instead of just going like, I wonder what I actually undid now. And it gets better, because if you wait a while and then try undoing, this happens. Confirmation. Are you sure you want to undo an action from 1 minute and 4 seconds ago? So if it's more than 1 minute ago, you get this fancy pop-up. That is super amazing, because sometimes you just accidentally undo and then something somewhere far away is now undid and you have no idea what it was because it was maybe like half an hour ago. So this is really nice. Undo removal of for landfill. Undo or back? Undo. Perfect. Let's take a look at turrets for a little bit here. You can see that we have a turret here, and they actually have target priority, so you can actually set them to target things, spidertrons, these are minerals and stuff, other entities here, but mainly to set it for this. For example, maybe I want to say my flamer turrets, currently empty, I only want to focus them on shooting at the big targets. And then I can actually ignore anything else. That means they will only shoot when there's a big behemoth or a behemoth spitter coming in. But it won't start firing rocket fuel, or sorry, flamethrowers fuel at any small targets, because they're too trivial. That's a really cool thing. It works very well in space, where you want to target different weapons against different kind of meteoroids. But for this, it also works really well, so you can target specific biters and don't use your expensive stuff for your expensive fuel for just a few straggling small biters. Now we're already in a map view, and you can see that things are here. What is that? There's a lot of cool things about map view. So if you played space exploration, you know that one of the biggest challenges is working with this remote view. In Space Age, remote view, map view is exactly the same. So, you can do anything you want as long as you're robots here. You can do that from the map view, which is super amazing. So let's look at some of the cool things you can do. First things, let's look for stone patches, because there it is impossible to look for stone patches. So you have a search function now, and it search, and then it highlights the stuff. For example, stone or coal. So you can see, okay, where is my next patch? Sometimes it's really difficult, particularly to see a stone patch on Novice and a coal patch on Volcanus. They are really difficult to see, so you have a search function. But it works better than that. You can also just search processing units and go like, where's my processing unit? And it even has a preview of this. There. So it's the search function is really good if you have an unstructured base. If you have a structured base like I do, it's not as big of a deal. But if you have an unstructured spaghetti mess, then that search function is going to come in handy to figure out where did I... Oh, can I use a tank? No, it's a storage tank. Damn. The search function doesn't even need the map view. You can just hit Control F and it automatically opens the map view, and then you can find nuclear. It does not work, unfortunately, to find cars and vehicles, which is, I think, is a little bit of a shame, because I'd really want to be able to find my vehicle that's right there. Yeah, they should add that, because I always lose my vehicles. From the map view, if we, something that is changed, if I do a blueprint here, stamp it down, then I used to be able to just remove it. But you can see there's a progress bar as I try to remove it. So you have to complete the progress bar, and then I'm holding down the right hand mouse, and then I can do instant delete. But they have removed it so that it's no longer possible to instant delete things from the map view. And it's a little bit annoying. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but you'll get used to it. The reason why is because you're going to be having a lot of ghosts on the map view, and if you just accidentally delete things too early, too easily, then you actually end up. But this is something that is takes a little bit getting used to. But there are a million cool things in the map view. I am now in the map view, and then I zoom in, and then I can say like, oh, I don't want that there. Then I just right click it, and then it sends a robot request to actually just remove it. You can also just insert. You can see here I have an inventory, so I suppose I could just take some of those over here, and that will just send a robot request to put things into this inventory. So you can actually put things into inventory from map view by robot requests. Other things we can do is add or remove modules. We can remove them, and we can add them if we want that. And you can do that from the map view as well. When interacting with a box, you can then usually hold shift, and then I can just drag with holding shift and holding the left mouse button, and then you can just transfer them one by one. All the stacks you hold over. It's a nice little feature. It's a really, really small feature, but it's a thing. And just from the map view, you can of course also just build stuff if you want to. Just build a lot of that. And then we can see we are going to get a warning here, and then we can see that it actually also has if I click it, we get this list, and if I hover over it, I actually get a preview. So this is really nice when you're working on a different planet and you get a notification of something got destroyed. Was that just like a random robot that got hit by a lightning somewhere on Fulgora? Was it a demolisher that goes through your base? Is it a random biter attack on Novice? Like, what is it that goes there? So you can do, instead of going there, you can just hover over it, and you can of course also click it, and then you go there immediately. From the map view, we can of course put things in. Well, of course we can put fuel in here. So we just issue a request, and that one will be then sent over here to fill it up. Map view, you can actually go into a tank and you can drive it remotely. That means you can actually just start ramming power poles all the way when you're on a different planet. However, and you just hit enter to leave the vehicles. We're now still in the map view. It doesn't work for the car, so no way of doing that, but it works for vehicles, tanks, maybe Spidertrons, and also for trains. Last thing for the map view is that when we pipette, we can actually pipette something, and then we get the ground fill. So you can do it for landfill, you can do it for concrete, but you can't do it for entities. So only for ground cover, so concrete, landfill, yeah, bricks, that kind of thing. Let's talk about logistics, because Man, have there been a lot of things that have changed to logistics. First of all, well, we enabled our personal logistics, and you can see here we have lots of things, and these are now organized into logistics groups. Now, in this case, I'm just doing this mainly because it's convenient for me to have it as sort of organized in a different way. That doesn't really do much, but for example, stuff like maybe I don't want to have defense with me, maybe I don't want to work on trains, so I can just disable those, and I will not be getting any of those inbound. So for example, we can also request trains inbound, so we get sort of all the stuff we need in order to build with trains. Or if we want to go out for a journey into the wilderness, we might want to get the defense, but I don't want to always have those defenses with me. The benefit of this is marginal at best. The advantage from this, so you can disable it. But the cool thing is that you can set up requesters and then reuse them, because as soon as I go in here, add a new section, then I can go this menu, and then I get an option for all the different ones that I have named. When you name something a group, then it stays around and you can call it again. For example, this one, new group assigned. This is just a random one, so if I delete it, it's not saved. But if I delete the one that's called beacons and modules, then I can go back here and find the one that's beacon and modules. Even though no one is actually using it, then it comes back up here. That's pretty cool. And then on top of that, if I just happen to pick up some more stuff like this part, and let's also just pick up some of this, that's all good. Then we have another feature that's called trash unrequested. That means anything we're not requesting, get rid of it. So if you have too much of something, just get rid of it. It's a really cool way of cleaning up the inventory. I find it to be a little bit too restrictive. So basically I use it as just click it and unclick it. And then I just throw everything out, because sometimes you have a building or get something extra for something and you want to get it, particularly working on a new planet. Maybe you haven't added to your logistics groups yet. This is really useful, but it's particularly useful when you have the same thing you want to request in multiple places. What could that be? I think that mainly for space logistics, where you want to request the same things to the different planets, that is quite convenient. But there are also many, many other ways where you want to request it. For example, to outposts, you might want to get that. And also another thing, let's say that here, I could also just say, I want 2 of those. Now it requests twice as much of each of these things. It doesn't change what it says here, but it says that beacons and modules times 2. So we get twice as many of these things. That's a very marginal thing, I guess. I don't know why you'd want that, but it's there, so we have it. So it also works for vehicles. For example, here, we go here, we can take here, and then I have one that's called tank resupply. Even though no one is requesting it, then I can just say, look at that. This vehicle is now requesting all these things by itself. And the great news is, you can see here, this is another little feature. If we see this here, currently unfulfilled requests, those are unfulfilled, but they are in progress of being fulfilled. If it's green, then everything has been fulfilled. If it's red, then there's something it cannot request, so cannot get. If it's blue, then it's in progress of unfilling it. But if I was sort of saying, I don't know what I want to do with something I definitely don't have, that one, then it would turn red because there's something that it cannot deliver. But if I do this, then it turns blue because it is in progress of delivering, and then once everything has been delivered, it will turn green. And it of course also counts the stuff that's in here and not just in the inventory down here. This is really handy when going out and killing things, so that you can do that, and particularly combined with the map view here, so that we can drive it remotely and then drive it back into the logistics network, and then it will resupply itself, and then you can drive out. So everything works like that. Another cool thing about the tanks and here is that they now have an equipment grid. So you can actually make a super ultra mega good tank. You can put legs on your tank and make them faster. Yeah, that's how it works. Another cool thing about the logistics group is that if you change one, you change all. So it's not a copy of this one, it's a reference to this one. So for example, this one is requesting all the stuff in here. And if I was to say, you know what? Actually, I don't want this. I want that. That's so much. Oh, I don't even have that. Okay, never mind. For some reason, I rather want to run on coal for this one. Yes. What about the other one? That one also updates to coal immediately. So that's both a strength and a weakness, but it works that anything that you change here will impact all of them. So it's actually a really, really strong suit, because you might have different places. Let's say you're requesting for outpost, and then you have that. Next feature, I absolutely love this one. This is such a cool feature, and it's a little bit hidden. This is particularly cool for outpost. Let's say you have an outpost build or something that you want to do. Then in my case, I could have something like a nuclear power plant. Let's say I want to go out there into the world and make a nuclear power plant. But how much am I going to bring? Previously, it would be just going in here and then remembering that it's 120, 200, 308, and then go back and do the request. No, 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 no. We just go in here, put it on the section, and then it automatically creates a new section that requests everything. That is just unfathomably awesome and completely hidden. So yeah, I hope that I earn a like from any of these things that you didn't know in advance. Roboports also have requesters, but these requesters are really weird because these requesters are robot requests. They are inside the network. So if you have somewhere like here we have things coming down from orbit, I really want to make sure that I always have robots nearby. Let's make sure that we always have in this one, let's at least have 100 logistics spots just here so that when something comes in, I always have some robots here. So what it does, it makes transfers from other roboports and just puts them in here so that they are, when they're idle, they will try to get in here and stay in this area. This is a way for you to sort of say, okay, let's say we have somewhere that gets attacked all the time. Maybe you want to just make sure that up here, I always have some construction drones. Because, you know, then I always have that. I wonder if it actually, it only works for robots. Okay, I can't put repair packs in here. That's for buffer chests. But just want to make sure that I have something nearby so that when I get attacked in this location, I have robots nearby always. Back to the logistics groups. If we look at this list of logistics things, you can see that here it says Nilaus added 20 request of Foundry, 20 mining drills, and then remove the request. And you can see here there's a changelog of who and what was the change. I guess this is mainly for I don't know why this is added. This is a weird thing because there are not really any changelogs or anything else. I suppose it's nice. It's mainly for multiplayer, I would imagine, because I should know what I've changed if something, and I know that it's not the game that changes it by itself. But hey, it's a changelog, and it might be nice in to settle arguments in multiplayer. The various types of logistics chests can now actually be enabled with a logistics network. So you can actually just disable your requester until some condition is met. This is actually quite useful and something I haven't really thought about before. So instead you would sort of have a condition that would set the request, but here you can actually have the request set with a group, for example, and then control it through an enable disable request. Pretty neat as well, and certainly a useful little feature. Here's a case that sometimes happens for me. I take something out and it disappears. Oh no, it disappeared because I have trash unrequested. So now my night vision goggles are gone and I don't know where they are. Well, there's only one way. We go to our logistics, L for logistics, and then we look at night vision goggles. Where are you? Oh, you're right there. Okay, well that's nice. Now I can find them. The last one for the logistics is not specifically something that is related to this, but when you have quality unlocked, it becomes a little bit tedious that you have to request, and then you have to request this, and you have to click. So it is actually possible to hold Shift Alt and then just scroll wheel while in the menu here where you're selecting, and then scroll wheel and go like, no, I want the normal one, or any, or normal, or uncommon. Really neat that you can do that without clicking, because it gets really intensive. During a live stream, you will say like, oh, welcome to just menus, because it was just so many menus of clicking with logistics requests. It gets a little bit tedious at times to set this up, but that's because there are so many options and I want to make everything automated. Next thing we're going to look at is a little bit about trains. I will be making, of course, a more dedicated train tutorials about all the cool things like interrupts and train groups and stuff. But I just want to show you here what the cool things are, and then you can play with it yourself. But because if you don't know that it's there, then you can't really set up. The first thing I'm going to do is something that you really shouldn't be doing, is loading up old saves. So if we load up some rail corner here, I'm going to put it down here. So that is the old corner, and you really shouldn't be using these. But if I then make it a new build, and the new corner is bigger. So this is the old and this is the new. You can also see that there's a difference between these. And that is because this is the old version and the new one. And you really shouldn't be using the old ones at all. I can understand that you might want to get it for just this faster, shorter turn radius, but try to go into the new ones. The new ones have the advantage that it's much smaller segments here that are put together, instead of the previous one where it was like a middle one and then a weird bend here. Yeah, so it's now 4 segments. This means that these segments here can actually be combined into making parallel tracks, which was something you could not do before. So there's definitely lots more advantages than there are disadvantages. The rail planner just has a life of its own, as it always has been, and because of that, it now it has more options. That means there's more ways to screw you over. So, you know, there is that. Let's hurry up and delete the old rails. I would not recommend using any old blueprints for rails, but make some new ones instead. Trains are, and train schedules and interrupts, as part of that, is a science in and of itself. I will just explain the concept of an interrupt. Here is one. This one is basically saying it's a condition that you can build, and these are generic. So this one says that if the fuel, any fuel here, is less than 5 rocket fuel, then add a new station that's called resupply. So for example, that would be here. If I can then click this is also something you can do. You can click these out, and if you, maybe I don't want to do that, but I can click this one out at least. Then when we clear that, then we should be able to see it get a new schedule and a new interrupt, because this interrupt is also set to be allowing other interrupts to work. There we go. It has actually started itself. It is now sending it over to temporary refuel. So it just interrupted the request that it was already getting, and then it just suddenly deleted that request, deleted that station, and now is going over here to resupply with its feeble remaining. And once it is resupplied, it will then figure out what it's supposed to do then by triggering another interrupt, which will now say, okay, I now was about to go to a location. So having this one set up, this is parameterized. This is really advanced stuff, because then it can identify it. I need to do the proper tutorial of this because it's a little bit advanced. Let's say I want to add another train. So I add another train here, and I want this to be set up. So I would need to go through all of it. What was this again? And then I also have to add the interrupt. Oh man, there's no way I can do that. If only there was like a concept of a group that I could just assign it to, and then it would automatically inherit all the abilities from the group. Isn't that amazing? So now you can have train groups, and you can set them up, and then once you go, you can just set it up and automatically working. I think that's pretty damn cool that we can work it like this, and then it will assign itself, and then go to a station here. It'll go to a random pickup station, and then we'll fill up with whatever is available at that station. Then it will go to deliver it depending on what it actually contains. You can also see, I can also just flip in and just go stop driving. Okay, it's still an automatic. Yep, and that's exactly what happens when I drive. But you can drive it automatically from the map view. That means you can move it across from a different planet if that's working. And there we go. We set it to automatically, and then I jump out, left the vehicle. It even is the case that you can drive things here. This one has no fuel. But you can actually still... Oh, you can't drive it. You can't drive it remotely, but you can squeeze it. This is just like foot pedals. So you can push it out of an intersection if it's there, but you can't do that from remote view. And then you can go in here. Ah, there we go. Now it's happy. So that's a little convenience that you can drive it there. But for some reason you can't do it remotely, which is a little bit of a shame, because you'd kind of want that to remove it out of an intersection when you're on a different planet. If we look at the trains, they have the nice blue color because the train stop has this color. And this one is, you can see there's a new checkmark that says use destination train stop color, which is set to true for default. Then if we look at here, that one is stone colored and this one is copper colored. And that means that when I have these generic trains, then as soon as they allocate themselves to a stop, then they change the color to that stop, which is really neat, because that means you can see some random stuff in the map, and you can see that they are they're going. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. We also have new alerts, so I can click, and then we can again get an overlay here. Train cannot find destination. Why can I not find destination? This is the train that we were using before, and now it can't find into one of these locations. What if I do that? It's now waiting for a location to be available here, because all these stations are open. So yeah, I added one with too many trains, and then things mess up. But the train system works. I just added an extra train for this tutorial, and then I messed up my train system. Typical. We can also, from the map view, as we are here, the map view, insert things directly into the logistics request here. There we go. We'll just put those in a stack at a time, and then we'll just issue the little commands. These little commands are super amazing. Now, I don't really like these train stations called refuel and then that one, because I noticed that there is a really cool icon for refueling here. Like, I'd really want to use that little icon for refueling. That would be super nice. So if I just wanted to remove them like this, but then I had 16 of those. If only there was a way to hold control and change all 16 at once. Isn't that awesome? And hopefully it also changes all of the interrupts. So they're going to the station. That's pretty neat. So if you want to figure out that all your trains should actually be named something else, then you can set that up. So now all my refueling stops have the same icon and name. When looking at the train overview here, trains with this stop is how it usually presented, that these ones are assigned to this one, but we can also see if there's anything that is en route to a particular station. For example, here we can see that one wants to come here, and here nothing is coming in. Any of these inbound? Yes, there is a train on the way, which is really nice. So you can actually see, okay, where is the train that's coming, and is it the right one, and where is it, how far away is it, if you're sort of wondering, instead of just looking at it and seeing, oh yes, one of one, so there is a train assigned, but where is it and how fast is it? Last thing for trains before we move on to the next topic is here, priority. So you can set train stop priority. And this is particularly useful if you have some kind of deposit that you want to mine out fast. Let's say it's in the way of something, and then you want to mine out that fast. Then you can improve the priority of that stop so that it is prioritized before the other ones. I don't think it works with my kind of thread network where I have all of these setups here, but it certainly works in cases where you have more demand than supply, then you want to prioritize it, or if you have, in terms of supply and demand. So it's a nice feature to have priority. It used to be something you'd had to do with really advanced circuit logic of just opening and closing, which is not advantageous. So having priority is really nice. Let's move into blueprinting. There are different tiles of ghosts. So let's stamp down a blueprint and see what I mean. We have a generic blueprint here. And that is a familiar blueprint. If we stamp it down, you can see that it changes from dark blue to light blue. Dark blue is something is assigned. Light blue is, or dark blue is, it's scheduled. It's a blueprint. It's a ghost. But light blue is, it's a ghost that has a drone assigned. And if we then see, you can see there are no unwanted quests. And if we just keep spamming this down, then you can see that not everything now gets light blue yet. And you can see that they gradually become light blue as requests become available. So this is what basically the dark blue ones are the ones that are inserted into this list. Here. Yep, that's not very useful, that overlay. But as this gets removed, each robots come over here, execute a request, then will then be assigned to the next one, and this one will gradually, you can see, gradually turn light blue as well. Really convenient, small feature, but nice. Blueprinting can now also blueprint a tank. So you have to, if I just do the normal one, then it just does what's on the ground, but if I hold shift, then it will actually choose the tank. So I choose vehicle and vehicle fuel. And I will create a blueprint, and then I'll stamp it down. What will happen? It will not actually insert, so if I... Let's do a little redo of this. There we go. This one has ammo in it. And if I then take a blueprint, stamp it down, it will not get the ammo. Here we have a turret. It has 16 ammo in it. And if I take a blueprint of it and stamp it down, then it doesn't have the ammo in it. But here is a really cool, weird trick. And you have to do it in a specific way. So, watch, because this is awesome. This is so helpful. I need to be outside of my logistics area. Then I stamp down my turret here. Why outside? Because I don't want it to be built. I want it to retain as a ghost, blue ghost. Then I go in here. Then I put in, let's say 10. You can see it's now a request. Then I copy this thing. And now it's a blueprint. This blueprint. This is how you kill biters from now on. It's mind-blowing. It's filled for me. It's now built in, but you have to do it in a super convoluted way. Because now you can just run out to biters and you can just go, well, you know, hello biters. Let my robots do the work, and then they will be very dead biters. It also works if you have a tank as well. But you also have to make it outside of the area here. So you have to make it out here. And then once you have it, you can then build, say, okay, I want to just build a tank. Actually, just make a full stack of that, and a full stack of that, and a full stack of here and here and here, right? And then I can take this there, put it in the inventory, build it, and then it actually retains this as request. It's weird that it doesn't do that by default, but it will work like this, and that is super amazing, because this can actually mean that you can have this kind of tank, and for example on volcanoes, where you might want to use a tank with uranium cannons shells, you can actually build it, and then you can just jump into it and drive it remotely, so you can do everything without even being on the planet. Super amazing. But I think this blueprint is ridiculously powerful. I use it on Gleba. I am going to use it in the future on Nilaus as well, just the beginning, because that solves everything in terms of killing biters. I don't know if this has happened to you, but it certainly happened to me, that if you sometimes have a blueprint that is aligned to a grid or something, and then you stamp it out, and then for some reason it just doesn't fit. Like you downloaded some blueprints from someone else and they just don't fit with yours, or you are going on another planet and your grid is somewhat a little bit different. There is hope for you yet, because it actually has the satisfactory nudge feature here. So while you're holding it here, you hold shift and then you can just nudge it just a little bit. And if you nudge it back into place, cool. Next time you get it, it's already nudged into place. So you can do the part here, the grid position, because those grids X and Y's are not how you'd think they would be. You'd think that X is positive that way and Y is positive that way, but I think it's X positive this way and Y positive downwards. It makes no sense. So anyway, when I want to adjust these blueprints, I always do it wrong. But no more, because you can actually just stamp it down here and then you can just nudge it into place, and when you leave it, then it's going to be remembering what you had. So let's nudge it into place so I don't get frustrated next time I use it. Now there's such a thing as called parameterized blueprints. It was showcased in one of the Friday Factorio facts. It warrants another video of itself, but I want to show how it works. I stamp down this little thing and then I say, you really want to make that thing. Click. What does it do? Well, it creates an assembler with this machine. It creates an input request with one stack of each. It creates a request here that says output logistic network up to 50, and all in one. And that means I can just stamp this down if I want that. Okay, let's also make the initial ones, because they were apparently used for that one. And this one will just request a stack of each of the things. Oh, why are we not getting that? Okay, well, don't care. Just make some gears for us as well into a logistic network, and that gets done as well. So this, how does it work? Well, let's have a look at it, because it's pretty freaking amazing what you can do with it. The way it works is that you have parameters up here. And this is where things become a little bit too much programming for my liking, where you have to sort of do these kind of things here. You can see all these parameters or variables that are available, and you can define new variables, and then they'll be available, number show above, X as well. It warrants a little bit more than this, but the idea is that you can set up to have a parameter and then have it prompt you for that parameter. It works for train stations as well. It works for assemblers. I think the way it has very much value is you land on a planet and you go like, I forgot to bring some power poles. Okay, let me just get some power poles. There we go. Just get the power poles. But it's a great way to set up your hub or anything like that. So really neat, and because you don't have to mess so much with all the logistics requests and all that, it just gets set automatically. So if you want a more detailed circuit network guide, then I will be happy to provide it. Also, more of an advanced tip, if you want to build these yourself, then you kind of have to sort of build into something, and then when you take the blueprint, you go in here and then you parameterize this value by going over and choosing a parameter. Oh, that's not it. You set it up as a parameter. There we go. And then it's a parameter. However, you can actually go into settings, interface, and show parameter in selection list. This means that you can now, with this, you can actually set it to build a parameter 0, which doesn't make any sense. And what makes less sense is how many you can put on a rocket. You can put a, oh, I haven't reset. You can put a lot on the rocket, 10,000 on a rocket of this signal. Never mind. But you can choose it here. And that means that it's you can build this up, and then, for example, you can set a request and then say, oh, okay, this one's going to be parameter 1 here. So it's just a little bit easier if you want to build parameterized blueprints to do it this way. The upgrade planner has also gotten some improvements. Let's say, for example, we have an assembly machine 3, and I can then make it into an assembly machine 3, but then I can enable the module slots and then say, I want it to be 1 of these and 3 of these. There. And then I take my blueprint and hover it over that one. And it will issue these commands. If I hover it over the other ones, I actually don't know what happens. It'll only do the stuff that it can do. So we won't try to insert the productivity module, since those don't work in here. But that's really convenient. For example, when I have bases like this, and I have some stuff that I want to have. Interesting why I did that. No idea. I want to do that. Okay, not upgrade belts, just only this part. So it says from nothing to 30 of the inputs, and here as well, and then it upgrades. So that is really convenient, that you can mess with modules slots, and you can also remove modules if you want to, just by doing exactly the same. If I didn't want modules in here, then I would do, yeah, the opposite of what I have here, downgrading or anything like that. Now let's talk about combinators, because they also have a lot of changes in terms of combinators and circuit logic. There are also some cool things that have been changed there. First, these tools are now tools. The wire, they are Alt red, Alt R for red, Alt G for green, Alt C for copper, which means that Alt R used to enable our roboport, but that's now Alt F, which means Alt F is froboport. I don't know. It's a froboport now. But that means you can actually wire these up. Yay, it works. Awesome. Let's see. We have some circuits. Circuits have been changed a little bit. Well, actually quite a bit. Let's do that. And now comes another good case of this one, because I don't think I actually am producing it. I want to create the new selector assembler. There we go. And we just make it and go like, yeah, there we go. It'll get built. First things first, the UI has been changed and it is much improved. It's much easier to work with, and I really thought it would be, it wouldn't really be a big deal, but it is a really big deal. If we look at this, then we see that you can actually now see everything. Previously it was shown only on tooltip, which meant it was just completely impossible to get a sense of anything that wasn't in the top 20. But here you can see their green background because they come in on a green wire. If they're coming in red wire, they would be red. So here we have everything. The way that I do this, this is the input, and then this is the output. So again here, this is the input, and then I only take the outputs that are greater than 0 and go out here, because that's kind of the essence of this. This one is basically taking anything from the roboport and comparing it to some export we get from Volcanus. Another improvement to this part is that you can actually add a description now, so not only you can read it, so this is going to be about as useful as programmers commenting on code, as in not useful, no one will ever read it, but it is possible. Another cool feature is the fact that we can now hook it up to a belt. We've always could do that, but when we can read content, but we can then hold for all belt. And this, first of all, it gets like really cool animation here. And you can see what it works. It works on this straight belt. It doesn't work. It's not because the belt is straight that it works, but it doesn't work on side loading. It doesn't work beyond splitters. And then what does it do? It now takes everything on that belt. This makes sushi belts so useful, particularly for spaceships. Really, really nice little change here. And I'm actually using sushi belts, and I actually kind of like them. Never thought that would happen. Next up is an assembler. Can be set with a circuit network. It can be interacted with. So then we want to see here, I can actually set the recipe. You can have new ones like recipe finished and ready to be working. I can set recipe now, and that means I can set that to be gears, for example, and then it gets set like this. That is super handy, and it means that as soon as we see this, we know like, oh wow, we can make a circuit magic thing that will just identify what we're missing in the network, and then switch the recipe and build this thing. Yeah, you can do that, but is it though? Is it? I don't know. I don't think it. I find it like a cool gimmick, but I don't think I found like a million reasons why I'd want to set the recipe here. It feels a little bit gimmicky. But hey, that's also part of Factorio to have things to make cool gimmicks for Reddit karma posts. Sometimes you just misplaced one of these, and when you cut it, it loses the connections, and you have to remember the connections. Was it up here? Was it there? Was it to the input? Was it to output? Was it also connected to that one? I can't remember. But now when you cut, look at that. The wires stay in my hand. Of course, if I go too far away, they lose. But that means if I just wanted to sort of move it down here, works. Oh, right. That's actually not easy to see. Let me just undo that and get it back up here. And undo also retains the connections. Super nice. Just as I did that, I requested a monstrous amount of things from Orbit. Oops. Yeah, don't mess with that stuff. Well, that's so much for that. There's another part. I can cut it. I can undo. And then I can just place multiple of these. That's probably also going to mess up my request. But that's a neat way to sort of add multiple connections. For example, with the lights, you might want to have multiple connections to the same. That's a neat way that you can sort of cut it, undo it, and retain it in hand, and then you can still stamp it down with multiple connections. Neat little extra trick. You can now wire circuits to radars, and then it will come out of the other end of the radar. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be setting recipe with whatever I get on the red wire. And then I'm going to hook this one up. Red wire, and I will be saying a recipe of a... Yeah, let's do something that can't be done. Iron plate. Doesn't work, because I can't make iron plate in that one. But something that will work. Gears, and then it changes up to gears. And I will then be able to... Now I'm just going to go off script here. What if we do that one? Oh, that can't be done. Okay, never mind. But chemical plants can be done. So things that can be made in a chemical plant. So for example, if I do plastic as well, there. Obviously not going to be plastic in here, but if I do that one and then set the recipe, then it will do the plastic here because it identifies that it is. So it'll take, basically what it will do is it'll go through this list and take the first one that's eligible to be put in. So if I put in multiple that can be put in an assembler, then it will choose the first one. And only if I take this out, then it will change to the other recipe. So that's a potential. Let's put this one back. Undo of red wire. So it doesn't undo that wire, that part here. So that was the red wire here that we undid. I want to do that one here for the gears. Now we also have a new building here. That is the selector. The selector has a new number of new features. Some of them are only relevant to space age, like quality and rocket capacity. But it can count the number of inputs, it can randomize any of the inputs, and it can do stack size. So for example, let's do something silly. This is silly. That goes in, that goes out. Now this output is completely flickering, and that means these are just flickering. Don't think that's particularly useful, but it could be that you sort of randomize the inputs for something, or just set a little bit longer cycle, then it alternates. Still weird. You can get the stack size of something. So if you are looking at something and you don't know the stack size, or you want to multiply something, the stack size times something because you want to fill up a box with, that's 48 stacks, but you don't know how much it is without knowing the stack size. Then you can use this to find the stack size of something and then multiply it by 48 to fill up a full box, or to test if there's a full box. And then of course rocket capacity and quality transfer. Those are things that are relevant to space age. Lamps also have a few different options here. They have been now, there's color mapping. This is what we used to have. So you send a color signal in and then you get that. Then you also have color components where you have to specify it as a value of red, green and blue. Or there's a packed RGB, which is a value from 0 to a big number. And that should be there. So I have a tough time seeing exactly what I would use it for, but I suppose you could use it for some kind of warnings that sort of turn more and more red gradually, or some kind of graph that sort of changes from green to red on a sort of continuous scale. That might be nice to have, but again, I think it's mainly for making never gonna give you up videos in with light displays in Factorio. It's just obviously something you'd want to do, and now it's much better because you can make it in color. You have another new entity, and that is this panel. It has a number of different features. Let's make sure that we hook it up. Or you can just do always show or not always show. What it does is it can show an icon here. Big biter, there we go. So that's a biter here. It can be, I think this is, you can also write something here if you feel like it. There we go. And oh, that did not work. Huh. I have to write it again. Always show. There is now always shown. I can also show it in chart. I don't know why it says chart, but it is actually here. Show it on the map. Useful for making pings or tags on map, but make them generic so that you can actually have the factory tell you what to do. And particularly with this case, then we're going to get something inbound, and then let's just get a value of a equal 1 inbound, and then we can just say, okay, display that if a is equal to 1. Now it's illustrating it, but if this is no longer equal to 1, then it doesn't display it. So you can actually make your factory sort of give you information on the map, and then you probably want to get this one always show to be out. Well, that did not work with the always show, did it? Show and chart, there we go. And turn it on. Still not the map. Yeah, okay, so even if it's nothing, then it will still show something in map. That's a little bit unfortunate. I don't know. It's might be useful. I think it's mainly for multiplayer, so I don't really see how much use I can get out of it. But there are other things that we can definitely find value of, and that is turrets. Again, turrets can also be set to circuits now, because that might be a thing. That's both for asteroid hunting, but also maybe for biters and such. So you can actually set it enable disabled. You can set a priority list so that you can actually define a priority list outside and then send it in, so you send it to all your turrets at once. Might be nice. And set ignored targets. So you can set the targets and read ammunition, so you can kind of see if it actually has an ammunition, and then throw a warning or show it on the map or something like that if you want that. Gets a little bit cumbersome, but you can do that definitely. And there are better turrets as well, the rocket turrets and railgun turrets, so they might be more useful. I think with this priority we showed earlier, then that's going to be useful, and then we can probably load it in with a priority list here. The other thing that's also going to be super useful, and then let's go up here, that is we can actually now hook up our nuclear reactors to circuit networks, which is actually much more useful than you think it is. Oh my god, that's so noisy. Here, if they are hooked up, what can we do? We can read the fuel and we can read the temperature. Read the temperature is not much, but that is actually something that comes in handy on several other planets, where we can actually manage this, and now we can use it to say, don't insert fuel when the temperature is high, so that it sort of limits the amount of resources being used here. It's working quite well to just not waste it to go too high on temperature value and manage the temperature like that. Did you count all the changes? I think it was 69. It was pretty close to 69. It's really nice. So those are all of the nice changes that have been made just to 2.0 in terms of quality, there is not quality in terms of quality of life, not quality feature, but quality of life for Factorio 2.0, and I hope you are enjoying all of these new cool things. If you find it useful, be sure to hit the like button. Let me know in the comment section if I missed something. Maybe we'll do a follow-up with more things. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Come by on Twitch. I'm streaming and playing a lot of Factorio Space Age. If there's something you want dedicated guides for a little bit longer, then I definitely want to do that, both in terms of Combinator, blueprints, trains, logistics groups, all that stuff. For me, I want to get a little bit more into the detail of how it works before I can make a proper tutorial for it, but this was just showing you all the cool things, and then maybe you can start exploring it as well. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care and stay effective.